I'm sure many of you are aware of the Market Movers app, and I decided to use Claude AI to create my own version of Market Movers. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I did it, some of the pros and cons behind what I created, and hopefully you'll get some inspiration if you want to create your own app using Claude AI. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, it's Canadian Card Collector here, back again with another video. And today I'm going through the process of how I created this Market Movers style app. Now before we start, I know that the title is a little bit clickbaity. Of course, this is not going to replace Market Movers completely. However, I really wanted something to track my collection and to be an alternative to Market Movers. I use Claude AI for different reasons, and I thought, why not use it for tracking my collection, among other things. Obviously, Market Movers is far more powerful. It has a lot more data, and it also has different capabilities such as like player comparisons, which I have not built at all. But I wanted to show you what I did and just the steps I took to create it and how it looks now. So I started off with Claude AI. If you're not familiar with Claude, it is an AI powered system that essentially can allow you to create apps with Claude code. You do need the pro version of it, which is a monthly fee. And I really wanted to test out if it was possible. As you can see here, I essentially gave it the prompt just to create an app. Unbelievably, within about 5 minutes, it came up with a template, as you could see here. From there, I need to start refining it. I decided what would I really need it for, how would I use it. Very basically, I wanted to add cards to it, be able to search cards as well, and most importantly, I wanted things to be updated. Now, I wanted to track card history and price history of those cards, and so I wanted to use eBay and Fanatics auctions to try and get some price history. This is where I started to run in some problems. eBay's 90-day price history is fine to get. However, it ran into some issues when I tried to use the advanced research. As I've shown in a previous video, you could go back 3 years. Unfortunately, it has some anti-bot technology, which does not allow an AI bot to essentially scrape the data, so I have to settle for 90 days. However, it does store it. So say a year from now, if I'm still using this app, the data does not go anywhere. But unfortunately, I can't go back further than 90 days to start. But that's fine. I could start building the data going forward. The other issue I ran into was that it was not able to scrape Fanatics very effectively. I am still kind of working on that. However, I have let that go for now. I was hoping that I could get Fanatics auctions into the data as well, but that might be a task for the future. But as you can see here, with some more refinement, I really got a way of adding cards to my collection, as well as a nice template on just tracking my entire collection. I asked it to be able to add templates. I essentially added cards manually. There's two ways of doing it. One through just individual cards, or templates like Excel, where you can dump in your information and then add them in batches, which is nice, especially if you have a larger collection. This is helpful. Not that I have that many cards, but I have enough where I didn't want to do each card individually, and had a spreadsheet that was similar in information. I just had to fill out a few things here or there. And from there, I was able to kind of come up with a collection, as well as further ideas on how to refine it. After a couple of days of refinement and thought, I was able to come up with this model here. As you can see, it's always changing a little bit just because of the ideas that I come up with. But as you can see, this has a nice dashboard here, including this cool ticker that essentially runs and will stop if I want to check out a card. But it runs non-stop, showing the cards that I have in my collection and how they're doing. These are price movements over the last 30 days, top gainers and losers. It has my portfolio value. Obviously, as I added things, it grew. And then I have things divided here specifically for my own collection. In-person cards that I have, as well as some in vaults. So I wanted to change that. And then in the actual collection page, you could see each card here gets scraped every day. So I could see new price movements and changes. These are parts of my collection. And then more than just the individual cards. I wanted collections here on my favorite players and stuff like that. These are just additional cards and collections of these teams and players that may not fall into these high value slots. So if I just kind of manually add these, and they're just general and they're not necessarily part of what I'm trying to track. And then I also have a sealed wax section. Again, all of these could be added here and then tracked individually. So we'll go to a card that's being tracked right now, like this Shaq Topps Gold 1992. I can go into each individual card page, and then you can see here I could filter by 90 days. I could go by 30, I could go by 7. All time obviously will start to populate more and more as we go further, but you could see all of these have these individual prices. The only thing is there are some drawbacks, as we do have to make some decisions sometimes when it comes to our collection and what we really want to track. For example, there's cards that don't necessarily have sales, and there's also cards with different graders. So PSA is usually easy to track. However, SGC might have fewer sales, and I have to kind of make up my mind on how I wanted to track it. So if I had an SGC 8, for example, of this card, this Michael Jordan Stadium Club Royal Court, I decided that the best way to track that would be if it can find SGC sales, great, add them, or BGS sales, add them. Otherwise, I would like it to track with PSA a grade down. So rather than getting PSA 8s, I get PSA 7s. I feel like that's a pretty good approximation. Now you might be thinking, okay, but that's not perfectly accurate. Well, cards aren't perfectly accurate. They're not equities. We have to make judgment calls, and I think that's the best way to track particular cards. You may disagree, but this is, after all, my own creation. So that is one way I track things. The other thing is that this is all added up as well, so I can track my entire collection, my entire portfolio value through the dashboard, and it's broken down in different ways as well, including how much I paid for things, my total gains and losses, which does not include collections, for example, because again, those are just PC cards that may be worth, 50 cents to upwards of, say, $20 per card, but I really am not interested in tracking individually all of those cards. I like this kind of broader overview of just the entire collection and some of the top gainers. The other problems I ran into sometimes was that I would track things slightly incorrectly, and in those cases I am able to actually change things manually if I want. So if I find that it's not getting all the right cards, so sometimes Jerry Rice, it was pulling in BGS 8.5s, I could simply just clean these records. I have these clean bad records button here, which kind of does a general clean, or I could just do these individually as well. If I want to get a more up-to-date price list, say I want the latest prices, I could do refresh prices. However, this runs every 24 hours as long as I have my computer on. This is actually locally hosted, so this is not through the internet, but every 24 hours this runs and updates the prices. Going over here, I can also search. So say I want to find the price history of one type of card, as you could see, like Patrick Mahomes, Prism, 2020, etc. Then I could do that here. And I could track the movement as well. This is just in case I want a particular card and see how it's moving over the past 90 days or something. This is obviously a limitation of the platform. In Market Movers, for example, you'd be able to search years of data. You'd be able to compare different players and different indexes, stuff like that. Right now, I don't think that's something I need. However, I can build that if I wanted to do player comparisons. I would have to kind of come up with the indexes myself, what I wanted to see, and that might be a future stage of the project. But for now, it's more about the collection tracking. As you can see, it has like all these nice pictures that it pulls along with it as well, and just get an idea of where I stand with my collection. So even though it is limited in some senses, it is still really cool that this was built in only really a couple of days, and I only spent a few hours each day. I did run into those scraping issues. However, I really am happy with what it can pull automatically each day and how I am able to make kind of judgment calls on certain cards that are maybe a rarer card or a rarer grade. And that is actually an important part of the hobby. You need to make judgment calls on values of rarer cards. It's it's probably easy to find a Prism Silver Joe Burrow rookie and see how often that transacts, and you can really get an idea of the card's value in real time. However, I have a lot of Tom Brady cards from the 2000s that are really uncommon and don't come up for sale very often. And sometimes I have to make judgment calls on what I would like to see in the price movement there. This last example owned a game. I have this in SGC 9, and it pulled up SGC 9.5 here and a PSA 9. So I could either keep those and believe that that is kind of around the value I would get, or I could also eliminate these if I don't feel this is the true value. It's a very tough call. And again, this is not going to be 100% accurate, but market movers wouldn't be 100% accurate either. So I'm okay with having some discrepancies here and there that may not fully accurately represent each card. But let me know what your thoughts are on this. Do you think this was a worthwhile project? If you're interested, I can provide more information on the steps I took to create this app. And I believe that this is really the future of collecting and price tracking. I appreciate market movers for what it is, and I don't think it's going anywhere. However, since I have Claude AI, I really thought this was a good use of my time and efforts, especially since market movers is not cheap, and this is essentially free along with my subscription each month. If this was the only thing I used it for, then it probably wouldn't be worth it. However, I use it for other things as well. But let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.